is Bongi Gladness. Today we are going to be talking about men. We are right here in Senton, and I'm here with the two men who are gentlemen. I know I cannot just say men. Maybe they would say, why don't you say we gentlemen, because it's our day. We're celebrating men. You know, sometimes you hear people always saying men are trash, men are bad, and men, they're not responsible. But today we are going to talk about everything good about men. We need to be fair. You know, sometimes you can always look at them or look at the bad side of them without looking at the right side or the good side of men. Let's just start and talk to these men. I'm having Emmanuel Roland, and we have Martin here. He knows that I don't really like to talk about his surname. He will talk about his surname himself, because me, you know, sometimes the tongue's always, a bit. So he will tell us about himself. How are you, Martin? Me, I love Martin better than talking about your surname. Maybe you're not supposed to be having a surname, I don't know. But then, how are you?
I don't mind it. It's not about my surname. I'm getting you.
Well.
Cool, man.
So tell people
Yeah.
about you, like what Martin. Me, I want to say Martin. Can I say that?
It's cool.
Martin.
Yes. That's who I am, isn't it, Martin?
I know that Dr. Roland there, he wants it for.
He wants Dr. Roland.
Dr. Emmanuel Roland.
Yes.
Yeah. How are you, Doctor?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm well. It's good to have you both here. We're going to talk about the goodness of men. You know, there are men who are good out there, as I already said. What can you say, Martin, about all of that? And all the scenarios and even the narratives that they put out there about men being bad.
Yeah.
Let's correct that today.
Well, the narrative is that it's toxic masculinity, it's patriarchy, and patriarchy is everything bad. But if you really get into it, you'll find that patriarchy is actually more detrimental to men than it is to women. Right? So we need to look at the fact that in divorce courts, for instance, men suffer worse than women do. If you look at child custody, men suffer in worse ways than women do. If you look at maintenance, if you look at all these issues, patriarchy has kind of set it up for the fact that women are the caring, nurturing, understanding, loving parent, and men are just bad.
But do you have scenarios, maybe?
Yeah, like for instance, I got a phone call where this chap, his child it's a girl child. The mother is actually hurting the girl child sexually, right? And the assumption is that the mother's good, and he's struggling to get his child to come and stay with him, to prove that the mother's bad and, that he's the better parent. And it's just this assumption that because he's a man, he's not a good parent. And all he cares for, and he's to date spent hundreds of thousands of rands on lawyers, on psychologists and tests and all sorts of things to prove that he is in fact the parent that his child should be with, and that the child has been hurt by the mother. And he's still struggling. In fact, they walked in and they took the child away from him, and she's now somewhere we don't even know where.
So for them, it's like he's accusing the mother. As usual, we know we have that way, they're thinking that women can't harm,
Exactly, and this is the thing. This is something that we need to do. We're not here to talk about it. I think the focus today is that we're looking at there are good women, there are good men, and we don't need to keep casting all men as bad, and that that narrative needs to end. We need to get to a point where we realize that there are many, many, many brilliant fathers, brilliant teachers, brilliant professors, coaches, all that sort of stuff. As there are many, many, many brilliant mothers and, who are teachers, who are professors and coaches and business people and all sorts of things. But then there's a percentage of each gender that are just a mess.
Of course, yeah. Let's just hear Dr. Emmanuel over there. Like, what do you think about this whole thing? But then, as we said, we're all about goodness. Tell us about the goodness of men, like all the scenarios you know about men, because now it's about celebrating them.
Okay, thank you, Bongi, and I say hello to your viewers. I want us to understand, taking it from a religious perspective, to say that God created, according to scriptures, God created the man first. And then he created the woman, and then the Bible says he saw all things were good. In other words, the man, the woman were good. So there is nothing bad about the creation of men and women, but not until the fall of man. And then there were now interruptions of the goodness around men and women. And then we see that tension, that infighting between men and women. But I want us to correct some impression about patriarchy. Patriarchy is not bad.
Okay.
Itself, patriarchy. Masculinity itself is not toxic.
Okay.
But there are elements of masculinity that's toxic, and there are elements of patriarchy that is also, using the word bad. For better clarity, let's say patriarchy is all about making men the head of families, making men the head of communities, societies, making men lead.
Allowing them their space, because now we know, although it's being ignored, but then we know that men, they do have the right to be men, to be put in their spaces as men.
There is need for order.
Yeah, order. Yeah.
So patriarchy is about instituting order in families, in communities, in societies. And the structure of patriarchy places man
Okay.
to be that head and have the authority. Because you can't just have a community of people or even two people relating, and then there is no specificity in terms of roles and positions. I wonder why we accept roles and positions in our workplaces, and then when it comes to the family setting, we feel like no, there shouldn't be some form of order,
No,
some form of leadership.
with that, I do understand, men of God, that with that,
Dr. Rollins, please.
it's okay, Dr. Roland. Like, I just want them to know that you're also a man of God, because you started by saying some scriptures and putting the spirituality in. So that's why I would say man of God. But it's okay, Dr. Roland. Yeah.
I like man of God more because it's higher than being a doctor.
Oh, okay. I thought you're correcting it, but it's fine then. So now, what I was saying is that on that note, it's because other people are exaggerating it, but we're not there. Where we are right now, it's just about making sure that people know that men are good. Men are good. Men are good. We do have men that are good. Okay, it might be like 70% of good ones or whatever percent.
The thing is, it's to break it down in percentages is always difficult. We need to understand that men are good. And men are different to women, thankfully, right? So men are solution driven, right? We get into a situation. That's why when you go to your husband and you say, well, I'm struggling with this and this and this and this, he will try and find a solution. That's not what the woman wants. She just wants the husband to listen, right?
Okay.
But he's going to go like, okay, well, I can fix this. If we do this, we do this, we do this, that'll fix the situation.
Of course.
Okay. So men are always solution driven. And it becomes counterproductive in terms of, that's why men commit suicide at higher rates than women do, because it is a solution to a huge problem. So the man looks at the issue and he goes, well, I'm in deep debt, I don't have access to my children, and I don't have this and this and this and this. So the solution for me is, well, I kill myself.
Yeah, because it's useless. Yeah, you feel like you can't live.
You see?
Yeah.
So, and whereas society, when we look at patriarchy and that sort of stuff, it's the sheer construct of even mental health, psychology and psychiatry and all that is kind of developed for the woman.
Yeah, so
okay?
I understand.
Because when a man goes to a psychologist, he generally sits down there and we're told that, well, patriarchy is the problem, toxic masculinity is the problem. So it's almost like we're being blamed for the issues that we have right?
Okay.
And this is a thing that we need to highlight and we start talking about, is that we're starting to create safe spaces. There's a lot of movement towards creating safe spaces for men to be able to talk about issues. All right, because men don't want to go to a mental health practitioner because the way they've been taught is almost to attack men for being men.
Yeah.
And that's the bad thing.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's what I was trying to say. To say patriarchy in itself is not a bad concept. Okay, it's not a bad creation. It's not a bad construction of how men and women should live. But there are elements of it that indeed rather makes
taken
men
out of context, like
not
per
like
I
se.
disagree with Emmanuel on that. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with patriarchy. There's nothing wrong with masculinity. If you understand the definition of masculinity, it is somebody who provides, somebody who protects, who defends, who nurtures, who cares for, who mentors. Those are the positive. That is what
It's
masculinity
positive,
is.
that's
yeah.
it.
You know, somebody who's a masculine, proud masculine man who cares for his family, that
And
sort of
who
stuff.
does it? Yeah, who makes
Right.
it work? Because
So
now, with people now labeling them bad, it's because of when nothing happens. When it's always negativity from a particular man.
now,
So
Yeah.
now we're talking about them as good people, as good, responsible.
Yes.
That's what we're all about.
I
That's what
think
we're
I
all about
think
today.
we also need to differentiate between the biological man, okay, having a penis as a man, and the social man, the social construct of man,
Okay.
which is now the patriarchy construction of being a father, being a provider, being a protector, and the rest of it. Now, as a man, all men are good, but as in the patriarchy construct, we feel that some men fall short. And again, the patriarchy construct also, the elements of the patriarchy construct that I would say are maybe detrimental is when a man is allowed to assert dominance in terms of bringing the woman to order, being violent in this case.
Okay.
Now, these are the elements of patriarchy that we need to expunge out of the entire construct of what patriarchy is.
Besides that, you saying men will just be good.
Yes.
But
So
then
because
what about now you're bringing me to hurt men who don't see anything wrong with what they do. So you see now that's when we're coming out of what we are here about. We actually want to point out the goodness out of me. We
Yeah.
don't want to argue about them, what's the reason that makes them to end up being bad or what. We want to find out the goodness about them.
Yeah.
Let's mostly now today, because we're celebrating men, let's not go back and because I know that it will come, but then let's not go back and talk about the reasons why you find men being bad or what we should do about it.
Well, let's.
No, we want to know if men can be good.
they are good. So hence
Okay.
I am trying to talk about the biological person and the social person. Now, I want us to understand that as men and women, we're biological beings, but the society itself constructs different roles we should play. And that in itself is what even the feminists are fighting about or against. So, but for a man and a woman, we have our biological chromosomes and everything that makes us unique and different. But yet, in terms of expressions of our identities, sometimes I could express some certain traits that can be deemed feminine in the sense of cultural creation.
Okay.
Yet again, I could exhibit some certain traits that could be deemed masculine in terms of social creation. The same thing for a woman. That's where the whole concept of feminism also comes into play to say, as a woman, you are not allowed to express dominance. They feel like as a woman, you're supposed to be submissive. But actually, as a woman, that trait is in you to express both dominant or even submissive
But then you see now, that's why
traits.
I'm saying today we know about that. We just want to find out
Yeah.
if there are good men out there. And then why and how. What do they do normally? We don't want to talk
Yeah.
about the elements of how and what and the
And
women
biology
and the
and
what
stuff.
and
Let's focus on
it's
the positive
today
stuff.
because me I can actually make a scenario now. I know that you can certain men. Okay, let me talk about my husband. I can leave my husband with my kids even for days. I'm not worried because I know that he will make sure that they eat. He'll make sure that they bath. He'll make sure that they're happy. They eat whatever snacks because he's responsible like that. But some people don't believe that men can do that. And me, I've seen a whole lot of many men who are able to do that, to stay with their kids and without a woman being around, but they
Yeah.
still do it and they do it perfectly.
You know, there's
Let's
this.
talk about such scenarios, because we're celebrating you. I don't want us to go to all the depth things about the reasons and the what.